Good morning, students. So, we are studying about the sense organs, and the first one we have started already, the skin, which is the outer covering, the largest organ which forms an outer covering of the body, and area is about 1.5 to 2 square meters. Now, the epidermis and the dermis are the two portions of the skin, and the epidermis is made up of five layers. They are stratum basal, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, and stratum corneum. So all we have studied already. Then today we are going to study about the dermis also we have studied, in which structures like small blood vessels, lymph vessels, sensory nerve endings, sweat glands and their ducts, hairs, erector pili muscles, sebaceous glands and nails are present. Yesterday we have learnt about small blood vessels and the lymph vessels, sensory nerve endings, sweat glands, which are of two types. They are typical or ecrine, atypical or apocrine. Two types we have studied. So today we are going to study about the hair. The hairs are present on the skin. The skin is covered, or the skin have the hair on the epidermis. So this is the structure of the hair. This is the structure of the hair where the hair shaft is there. Then hair root is there. Hair follicle, hair papillae and hair bulb. Then a sebaceous gland. So all these constitute the hair. Hair are present in almost all parts of our body except palms and soles. Here on the palm and on the sole of the leg we don't have hair. Hair have following parts. They are nothing but, the first one is shaft, which is visible part above the skin. So this is the skin and this is the visible part. That is the hair shaft. The visible part above the skin is the shaft. Then root, embedded part. It is embedded in the dermis. The root is embedded in the dermis. The hair follicle surrounding tubular sheath. So this surrounds the follicle, the hair follicle surrounds the sheath. Just like the sheath, it is present. The hair papillae, the extension layer of the dermis which produces hair and pushed upwards. The hair papillae, which is the extension of the dermis and which produces the hair and pushes it upwards. Now, the next point is erector pili muscles. These are the erector pili muscles. The erector pili muscles are the bands of smooth muscles which are attached to dermal papillae on one side and to the hair follicle on the other side. So, the dermal papillae are attached to the dermal papillae. This is the dermal papillae. One side and other side to the and other side the hair follicle. attached to the hair follicle. Contraction of these muscles makes the hair stand erect. So this should stand erect. The hair should stand erect at some situations, and this erection of hair is by the contraction of these erector pili muscles. Contraction of these muscles makes the hair stand erect and rises the skin around the hair by the stimulation of sympathetic nerve in respect to fear and cold. ನೀವು ಹೆದರಿದಾಗ ಮತ್ತು ನೀವು ಚಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ, ಚಳಿ ಬಂದಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೈ ಮೇಲಿರುವಂಥ ಅಥವಾ ಸ್ಕಿನ್ ಮೇಲಿರುವಂಥ ಕೂದಲುಗಳು ಎದ್ದು ನಿಲ್ಲುತ್ತವೆ. ಮೈ ನವಿರೇಳುತ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಕೂದಲುಗಳು ಇಳ್ತಾವೆ ಮೇಲೆ, ಅವು ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾವೆ. ಹೆಂಗೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾವೆ ಅಂದರೆ ದ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಸಿಂಪಥೆಟಿಕ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಿಂಪಥೆಟಿಕ್ ನರ್ವ್ಸ್ ಗಿವ್ ದ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಷನ್ ಟು ದ ಎರೆಕ್ಟಾರ್ ಮಸಲ್, ಎರೆಕ್ಟಾರ್ ಪಿಲಿ ಮಸಲ್ಸ್ ಟು ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್. ವೆನ್ ದೀಸ್ ಮಸಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟೆಡ್, then the hair shaft becomes erect. It becomes erect. Now the sebaceous glands. These glands are associated with hair follicles. So sebaceous glands, they are associated with the hair follicle. Hair follicle present almost all parts of the body except palm and sole region. The glands consist of secretory epithelial cells derived from the hair follicles. They secrete an oily antimicrobial substance. So this sebaceous gland secretes antimicrobial substance which is called sebum. Which is called sebum. The sebaceous gland produces or secretes an oily antimicrobial substance called sebum in the hair follicle and later passed on the skin. Its functions are: the oily nature helps to keep skin and hair soft. This antimicrobial substance is oily. It is oily. So this oily nature helps and keeps the skin hair soft. Second one, it prevents drying of the skin and cracking. Drying of the skin and cracking of the skin is prevented by this oily antimicrobial substance called sebum. It makes the skin resistant to moisture. It makes the skin resistant to moisture. It gives a shiny appearance to the hair. It also gives a shiny appearance to the hair. It acts as an antimicrobial agent, prevents infection. It prevents infection of the microbial organisms, and it acts as an antimicrobial agent which kills the microbes and small organisms sitting on the skin and prevents the infection. So this is the function of the sebum or the oily secretion of the sebaceous gland, which is antimicrobial, called as the sebum. So this sebum has many work. It keeps the skin and the hair soft. Drying of the skin and cracking is prevented. Resistant to the moisture, appearance, it gives shiny appearance to the hair. It acts like an antimicrobial agent and prevents the infections. Now, the nails. These are the hard, horny, keratin, solid plates. Nails are hard, horny, keratin, solid, plate-like structures. So the nails are hard, horny, keratin, solid, plate-like structures which are nothing but the modified horny cells of epidermis. The horny cells of the epidermis are modified to form the nails. The epidermis and the hairs that form a protective covering on the dorsal surface of the fingers. So on the fingers we can find the nails here. On the dorsal side of the fingers we have nails which are the productions of the keratinized modified cells of the horny cells of the epidermis. They are hard, horny, keratin, solid plates, modified horny cells of epidermis and hairs that form a protective covering on the dorsal surface of the finger and toes. ಕಾಲು ಬೆರಳ ಮೇಲೇನು ಉಗುರುಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ, ಕೈ ಬೆರಳುಗಳ ಮೇಲೇನು ಉಗುರುಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಈ ಉಗುರುಗಳು ನೇಲ್ಸ್ ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ they are modified horny cells of the epidermis and hair. They are protective covering on the dorsal surface of the fingers and the toes. The main function of nail is to provide a firm support for the fingertips. It gives a firm support to the fingertips. ಈ ತುದಿಗಳನ್ನು ಗಟ್ಟಿಯಾಗಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ ಈ ನೇಲ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ಉಗುರುಗಳು ಇವೆ. They are modified cells of the epidermis. Now the functions of the cells, the functions of the skin. The skin is the outer covering of the body, I have told already. Now there are many functions present, or the many functions the skin does. The first one, the skin provides mechanical protection for the underlying tissues. The skin provides mechanical protection for underlying tissues. There are many tissues present in our body and it gives the mechanical protection. The skin gives the mechanical protection for the underlying tissues. Number 2, it acts as a physical barrier against the entry of microorganisms and chemicals. So the skin acts like a physical barrier against the entry of microorganisms and chemicals. It prevents loss of water or dehydration. It prevents loss of water. The basal cells of the epidermis contain brown pigment called melanin, which protects from harmful effects of ultraviolet rays, UV rays and light. So the melanin pigment which is present in the epidermis, the basal cells of the epidermis, it protects from harmful effects of UV rays and the light. It plays, next point, it plays a role of important sensory organ. It plays a role of an important sensory organ. If you touch to some person, he will feel that somebody is touching to me, and this impulse is received by the sensory organs of the skin and conveyed to the brain, and it recognizes the sense of touch. So the skin is a very important sensory organ. It has an important role in the temperature regulation. It regulates the temperature of the body. The body temperature is regulated by the skin. By controlling blood flow, it controls the blood flow and by production of sweat. By the production of the sweat, it cools down the surface area and thus it maintains the temperature of the body. The skin has this function also. Now the next is, it plays an important role in production of vitamin D. Vitamin D is produced by the skin. So it plays a very important role in the production of the vitamin D. Then next one, it is the storehouse of water and fat. It is the storehouse of water and fat. Adipose tissue is there. This is the adipose tissue, which is nothing but the fat tissue, and fat is stored in the adipose tissue. So it is a storehouse of water and fat. Next point, it helps in the heat production by metabolic activities. It helps in the heat production by the metabolic activities. Next point, it helps in heat loss which can be regulated. So the heat regulation is also maintained by the skin. It has an absorption property of some drug molecules. It has an absorption property of drug molecules. Some drugs, when we apply on the skin, ತಲೆನೋವು ಬಂದಾಗ ನಾವು ಅಮೃತಾಂಜನ ಹಚ್ಕೊಂತೇವೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದರೆ ವಿಕ್ಸ್ ಹಚ್ಕೋತೇವೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ಒಳಗಡೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಸ್ಕಿನ್ಗಿದೆ. Skin has that capacity. It has an absorption capacity for some drug molecules. Next point, it is a minor excretory organ for sodium in sweat, urea when kidney function is impaired, aromatic substances like garlic and other spices. So it excretes. It is a very important excretory organ. The skin is also an excretory organ. It excretes sodium, Na, that is sodium, then urea and aromatic substances like garlic and spices through producing the sweat. When the sweat is produced, it takes up the sodium, excess of sodium, water and everything, and it throws out. So this is an important excretory organ also. So this is all about the skin. Now the next one is eye. The eye, which is a very important sense organ. Eye is also an important sense organ, and we have to study the eye also. That is, eyes which are meant for the sight, and they are very important sensory organs which recognize the light or the images of the objects are also recognized by the eyes. The eye is the organ of sight. It is situated in a bony socket of skull and orbit cavity. So I have to draw the figure of the eye. If I go to draw the figure, it will take time. So tomorrow we will study about the eye, which is a sensory organ. So thank you very much. Today we have completed the skin. Tomorrow we will take up the eye. Thank you.